Well, K-State K-State played rather with the same effort and intensity that we podcasted with earlier this week, and the results looked about like you would expect. Let's talk about it next. Welcome into Three Maw. John Kurtz, Derek Young, Cole Manbeck, all with you. It is a balmy, like 70 degrees outside today, and you can tell by Cole Manbeck's attire here, wearing a nice like Hawaiian cat shirt. And I will remind everybody that not only is Cole looking great today, but he said he was going to bring incredible energy and enthusiasm to the postgame show today. So I'm just making sure that before we get into this, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of frustration taken out here today. Cole is the one that is supposed to keep this on the rails and keep this going. He has made promises, and I want to ensure full accountability here at Three Maw. We will take full accountability for our words and actions. Okay. So Cole, are you ready for that?
Of course.
Yes, I will bring a great deal of energy. I'm not telling you what type of energy that is.
I hope it's negative energy after that bullshit. Sorry.
But, yeah.
Okay. Can we don't. Okay. Let's look. Holiday Distillery brings you this podcast. They bring you also Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. Look at that. Cole's got a brand new bottle ready to go.
Yeah. That game was brought to you by Holiday Distillery. And Ben Holiday.
How did you not crack it after watching that?
Well, John, here's the thing, DY. I have to go hang some more Christmas lights on a 24-foot extension ladder here in a little bit, and it is not recommended to crack it yet. But I will be tonight. I will be rewatching the game tonight and seeing all the great plays.
Why would you do that?
I'm not going to rewatch the game, but I got this 8-year rare bottle of Holiday Distillery's Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon, folks, and I cannot wait to crack into it. Go get some Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon again. It is amazing stuff from our friends over there.
Hey, this is a good start for Cole bringing more energy. He just did the ad read for me, so this is Cole's trending in the right direction here. All right, Cole has given us a South Carolina-esque first half. Now we'll see if he gives us a South Carolina-esque second half or not. But hopefully this continues. Thank you, Holiday. All right, look, the final was 14-6. Man, I hated like every moment watching this game. I remember the game in Lawrence in 2023. I mean, I can remember saying about that game, like that might be the least. It was a big win, but it might have been the like least fun that I'd ever had watching a game the whole time because it just felt excruciating. Like you felt like you were going to lose. You get down big. You find a way at the very end, and some of that I guess was fun, like the waning moments. But it was really. I mean, this in a different way was sort of the same ilk where it was just like watching this the whole time. I just had this feeling of like, and I know we get 12 Saturdays a year and everything's precious, wait 5 years. You could be Washington State or Oregon State, all this. I get it. You should be more grateful and just try to enjoy it. But I just wanted it to be over. Like I just wanted it to be over. I didn't want to watch any more of that. Shout out to the defense. The defense played hard enough. They forced some turnovers. The defensive line had a nice game. But watching that offense today, and then watching Oklahoma State. I mean, that's the way you're watching K-State play the way that they did against Arizona earlier this year, and then you're watching them against like one of the worst, if not the worst, FBS football team that exists right now, or Power 4 football team that exists right now, and that combination just makes for a miserable watching experience. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for calling that a miserable watching experience or not enjoying watching this team and it affecting our excitement for doing these podcasts. I don't feel bad for why are we being asked to do something that the football team doesn't even do? Like it was very clear early on that they did not show up. Right, we saw the tackling attempt like in the first 5 minutes by Zayshawn Rich in the open field against the wide receiver that is not near as athletic as he is. I mean, then you saw Jerron Tibbs not really fight for a ball. It wasn't a great throw by Avery or good timing, but Jerron Tibbs didn't fight through it. The play all that much. So, I mean, that comes to mind. Remember the Ole on the block attempt on the read action between Avery and the running back, and Braden Lofton just kind of gives a half-hearted shoulder check. So Avery gets dumped for a sack. That all happened in the first 5 minutes. So I was like, well, clearly they did not take this game seriously all week, or this opponent, and obviously since the bye week that they weren't locked in. So I don't know why you would ask more of us than what you'll even get from the team. So that's the way I feel. And to your point, John, about Oklahoma State part of it as well. Yeah, I think this Oklahoma State team is worse than a lot of those KU teams under David Beatty, Les Miles, Charlie Weiss. Like, this is another world of bad.
Well, John, I'm trying to be positive here, so I was letting DY vent, and I don't have anything really positive to say other than on the pregame show, didn't we tell you guys this is what was exactly going to unfold? An ugly, miserable game that K-State would win by 1 score. Chris Kleiman doesn't do well in this spot. He's been atrocious as a double-digit favorite in terms of losing outright, and favored by 19.5 points, a 1-score ball game where Oklahoma State has the ball driving with a chance to send it to overtime in the end. And, if it wasn't for Oklahoma State shooting itself in the foot repeatedly, K-State would have lost the game. So, Oklahoma State played better than Kansas State. You look at all the numbers, you watch the game unfold. If it wasn't for stupidity by OSU, they win. John, I would even argue K-State's defense was actually awful as well. They forced turnovers, but I would say a lot of that was also Oklahoma State just making mistakes. But Oklahoma State had 23 first downs. They outgained K-State 373 to 284. They ran for 147 yards on 29 carries. The 5.1 yards per rush was the most yards per carry Oklahoma State had versus a Power 4 opponent this season. Oklahoma State averaged 5.6 yards per play. That's the most yards per play by an OSU offense this season before the Baylor game, the second most yards per play on the entire season by Oklahoma State's offense. And again, from a points per drive perspective, this team ranked 133rd in the country and was one of the worst offenses in all of America. It's the worst Power 4 team in all of the country. According to the FEI, they're 116th nationally as a team overall. Boston College, the next closest Power 4 team in the FEI national rankings, at number 100 in the country. We all know how bad Oklahoma State is. They've lost 15 straight Big 12 games, now 16 in a row. So I guess I start there with the defense, but the offense was even the bigger story. Obviously, they struggled mightily all game. Matt Wells, I don't know where to begin with what Matt Wells and this coaching staff was doing offensively. And that's not to excuse the players either. Avery Johnson was not good. K-State's offensive line was not good. Nobody on the offensive side outside of Jace Brown was good until Jace got hurt, unfortunately, and then was seen in a sling.
He's out for the season.
Out for the season. Okay. So there's another offensive weapon down. Brutal blow there, but, the offense was an absolute disaster. And I would just say also the defense, if it wasn't for Oklahoma State fumbled at the K-State 9-yard line. They fumbled at the K-State 23-yard line. At the K-State 27, they threw an interception. They reached the K-State 24 and had a turnover on downs, and they missed a 54-yard field goal. So they got to the K-State 37-yard line or in 5 trips and came away with 0 points. They got inside the K-State 30-yard line 4 times without getting any points. So if they had capitalized and not made some monumental mistakes and ran a stupid trick play, et cetera, they beat K-State. And K-State loses as a 19.5-point favorite. Just an inexcusable performance. Coming off a bye, what did the coaching staff do? I'd really like to know what these guys are doing. And it just gets back to our state of the union, state of the program. I have serious concerns about this football program under Chris Kleiman.
Yeah, you wonder what they did, but I think it's clearly like you had guys quit, or the care factor was essentially eliminated once you lost Texas Tech and went into a bye week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's one of those things, Cole. It's a little bit like, I don't know if chicken or the egg is totally appropriate, but I think you'll see where I'm going with it here. Like, it feels like the players didn't really care or try all that much. And so some of that, I guess you can say, well, coaches, you should be able to get these guys whipped into shape and rah. Or I would just say, don't coach so poorly at the beginning of the year that the beginning of the season was such a disaster that it's now created this scenario where you're here at the end of the year. It just doesn't matter. It looks terrible no matter which way you slice it. And the coaches are certainly ultimately responsible for that. And I just,
and even with all that, you should still have enough to not be in danger of losing Oklahoma State.
Kansas totally sleptwalk against them 2 weeks ago. What did they wind up winning by like 17 or something?
The game was never in doubt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Like it was never, never in doubt in the second half, certainly. And, you've shown what you can do to Kansas. So whatever.
And I know some people, like I said, put stock into a bowl game, but like, if they're not going to get up for this game, like why send them to another bowl game? They won't get another game. They won't get up for
right. And well, a game that you'll be playing with no Jace Brown, no Austin Romaine, a steady dose of Joe Jackson taking carries. Like I don't want to watch this team anymore. I mean, I'll be honest. I just don't. Like, I'm sorry. They got to go to Utah next week. Utah, who's still presumably playing for everything. I guess if Utah were to lose to Baylor today, maybe you'd catch Utah in the same sort of scenario where they just don't, they're checked out because their goals are gone. But most likely it's going to be Utah playing for literally everything on the road, probably cold. That's a tough place to play. They've won every Big 12 game they've won has been by over 30 points.
Against the depleted K-State team. They'll probably be able to name their score, you would think.
Yeah, just buy out of that game and just go ahead and not make the trip to Salt Lake because that will be ugly. Obviously, I'm joking.
Yeah,
but that's it's going to be brutal.
Going back to the offense, which is probably where this kind of starts and ends today with a lot of the frustrations. I mean, you score. You're fortunate to score 14 points on Oklahoma State, the worst Power 4 defense in America. Like, and I will say a lot of this now is becoming personnel, but they're also responsible for that, right? Like they didn't have the right amount of depth, and maybe it takes money to get depth. That can be argued, but there's also plenty of players, I would argue, that just aren't getting better, and like the development of the players on the offense, for whatever reason, that is not happening. Because, and I said this in off air in the group chats probably for the past few weeks, you have an offensive line that today could not even block Oklahoma State. And that's putrid. Yeah. That's putrid. And the few times that they did, because they did make some creases at times, you had a running back that has no juice or explosiveness to get to the hole or rip through it with authority, or he misses the hole altogether. There was 2 touchdowns dialed up on the running game that he completely whiffed on because he went the wrong way. You have tight ends still dropping the ball. You have a wide receiver room that is absolutely depleted at this point. That's not to make excuses for that coach or those guys, but I said it in the offseason, right? I was like, the least amount of depth on the offensive side of the ball, which I said was that wide receiver. The answer might have been running back too, but I said receiver. And now you're down every starter but Jerron Tibbs. And so that depth is being tested, and we're seeing that kind of come through. And Avery Johnson didn't play good today at all. He's getting absolutely minimal help. So, but I'm not going to stand up for him when he's making poor decisions, throwing the ball when he shouldn't be. Probably is getting into a position where he feels like he's having to play superhero. I get it. But he's also, we heard about 23 miles per hour all season long, and we still are a lot to be desired when it comes to him running the ball. And how about that sack he took when he got run down from a blitz that was a mile away? Like, that wasn't a good play by him either.
Well, there's just a million frustrations on that play. I don't know what the hell the route combo was going on over there. Right. Nobody's, just looked like a bunch of curls and stuff. Like, I'm like, what is the play where it's Avery's immediately rolling out and then you're just waiting for guys to
play design is frustrating on a number of fronts, so we can probably get into that too.
Oh yeah,
it's a whole different conversation.
All our friends were there. Our best friend, 3rd and 8, throw a 2-yard out route. He came back, and boy, that thing still hits like crack. I tell you what, I can't wait until I never have to watch another one of those ever again. Get it out of my life. Burn the film of this year so I never have to watch that happen again. Never, ever, ever, please.
Go for it right after this, Cole. But I'd say like the QB run game, like it hasn't been good, but I think some of it is play design. I don't understand. Well, one, when you do it with the dual quarterback system, you take out the reason to do it, which is to have an extra blocker. John stressed that a month ago when they deployed that scheme or formation. But even on the QB sweeps, like there is no lead blocker. Or the one time they did run the dual quarterback with Blake Barnett, I think, and it was kind of a misdirection, and he got out there with space, and then Will Swanson just ran right by two defenders that it looked like he should have been the lead blocker for, but instead was running a route.
Well, you had the 3rd and 9 quarterback sweep that got nothing, which, by the way, as a reminder, everybody, Jace Brown at that time was still healthy. Oklahoma State is 136th out of 136 FBS teams in pass efficiency defense and yards per pass attempt allowed. You are facing college football's worst pass defense. And on 3rd and 9, you ran a quarterback sweep. Okay. Then under center, you run a toss pitch to Joe Jackson. That was one of the dumbest plays I've seen in my lifetime. All right.
Short side of the field too.
Like, yeah, I mean, just insanity how stupid that call was. They lost multiple yards. They get a touchdown on that drive because Oklahoma State lined up offsides, guys. Otherwise, they finished the damn game with 7 points against college football's worst defense. It is so bad.
Talk about the drive that you referred to when they ran the QB sweep on 3rd and 9. They went run, punt, penalty on Oklahoma State, go for it, penalty on K-State, back to punt.
Yeah, I mean, that was so predictable too. Like, I was watching with my buddy Casey, and we literally said something's going to happen where they end up punting the ball again. And they get an illegal formation because your offensive tackle apparently getting the Juwan Taylor treatment and wasn't lined up on the line of scrimmage. And so they get the 5-yard penalty. Guys, I will just tell you this. Think about this. The fewest points allowed by Oklahoma State against a Power 4 opponent this season, 38. K-State scored 14. Okay? 38.
Lucky to score 14.
Okay. And think about this. I went back and watched. I pulled every game log of Oklahoma State this year against a Power 4 opponent. And here are the points per drive. 38 points on 6 drives by KU, 6.3 points per drive. 35 on 11, 3.2. 49 on 8 drives, 6.1. 39 on 11 drives, 3.5. 41 points on 15 drives, 2.73. That is the lowest that Oklahoma State has allowed in a game this year until today. 45 points on 12 drives, 3.8 points per drive. 69 points by Oregon on 12 drives, 5.8. And today, 14 points on 10 drives, 1.4 points per drive against the team that ranked 134th in the country out of 136, and defensive points per drive allowed at 3.59. Kansas State comes in there and gets 1.4 points per drive. The next lowest was 2.73 allowed against a Power 4 opponent this season. The average margin of victory by opponents against Oklahoma State this year at the Power 4 level was 32. The lowest margin of defeat by an Oklahoma State opponent was 17. K-State wins by 8, and they were gifted that to win by 8. Just horrible display of football. I don't know what I watched for 3 hours, but it was emotionless for me. It was a very weird feeling. It was hard to even care when you watch that unfold because, to your point, DY, it didn't look like a lot of the people there cared. But, you know, it is apparently a really hard place to win. And we can talk about it.
We'll get to that. We got a break. I have one more bone to pick because I feel like we've covered a lot of the greatest hits that came out today. You know, it was kind of like a greatest hits album of the K-State season. The throwing 3rd and 8, 2-yard out route, the penalty, getting a procedure penalty that makes you have to punt, like all these stupid things. I guess special teams. We didn't have that's the one greatest hits that was missing today. We didn't have a special teams, but we had one other thing that we haven't covered yet that was absolutely a greatest hits from this season. And Avery Johnson is way low on the list of guys that need to be crushed for today. Okay. but he did do one thing that was totally on that greatest hits album. We'll get to it in just a moment. But first, let me tell you about if you're a Chiefs fan, you can be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, NFL fans, what's your favorite touchdown? For me, it's the next one. And that's because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. First touchdown scores to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. So your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. Must be 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. The bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, visit dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Okay, we're back. I was trying to scribble out the greatest hits list here because I didn't do a great job there before the break. We had today a 2-yard out route on a 3rd and 8. We had horrible offensive line play. We had tight end drops. We had a penalty that wiped out a big play. The one that we were missing, we did not have a special teams turnover. Thank you. Shout out Nate Katzer. But we did have a missed field goal. So I guess if you want to say special teams screwing the pooch, we did have that. The final thing that I will submit today.
Did have a bad kick return.
Yeah, there was a bad kick return. Bryce Nornberg just ran it back to the 19, straight into the back of somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, there was that. That's great. And we also had a 3rd and 2 that was entirely attainable for Avery Johnson running the football. And he just turtles and winds up a half-yard short. And then they get a holding penalty on 4th and inches. Andrew Langang, who we've been hearing about for 8 off seasons now, gets the penalty, and then they wind up having to punt.
And that is so bizarre. That's like Cole played offensive line. You can probably correct me if I'm wrong here. High school offensive line. Cole was not a college football player. But like, how hard is it? I'm pretty sure it's pretty difficult to actually hold your guy on 4th and short because all you're doing is firing off and pushing. There's no point in grabbing.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch the play, but I don't think K-State had anybody really pulling on that, right? I don't think it was like a trap or a counteraction play on it. So if you're just going firing off the ball and it's man-on-man action up front, it's not like a zone scheme or anything like that, then yeah, I mean, it's that was my reaction to DY. It's really hard on that play. That's so quick to get a hold on that. I'd have to rewatch it to see what happened. I don't think we got a replay from ESPNU on it.
My guess is it was one of the more stupider plays of the game, but it doesn't really get seen because it's in the offensive line, or maybe it was a bad call because like otherwise I don't get it.
I mean, yeah. In Langang's defense, I guess the only thing I'll say is, yeah, we didn't see a replay of it, and Kleiman was really hot on the sideline. Maybe it was a bad call. I don't know. Maybe Kleiman's just going through the same logic that we are. Like, how does that happen? But the point is, and once again, Avery Johnson is getting very little help. He's not high on my list at all of issues today. But because you've played so poorly, the team has played so poorly, the game's on the line. If you get a first down, it's close to being over. I mean, there were like 4 minutes left at that point. Like you need like 2 first downs to win the game. It's 3rd and 2. You got a little bit of a crease. You're right up in there, but just Attack it. Hit it
Yeah.
hard. Lean forward. Dive. Do something. Get the first down. Anything, but just curl up and like barrel roll directly downward. Like anything, please.
Absolutely.
How many times have we seen that this year? Because of course you were going to screw up the fourth down play. Of course this team was going to screw it up. Like, just get the first down, my man. Come on.
Like, it's either a complete lack of a willingness, an unwillingness to be physical and tough at the point of attack, or his actual game awareness is bizarrely low. And if that's the case, we probably haven't focused on that enough. Because remember, I mean, Chris Kleiman said when everyone thought he was just being soft when he slid well before the first down marker a few weeks ago. You remember that? It was like a third down or a second down, and he just like slides before getting the first down. And Kleiman said he just didn't know where he was on the field. So, and if that's the case, then I think that's maybe another conversation worth having, that his awareness is maybe an issue.
You know, the 3rd and 8 too, John, was particularly enjoyable, where they throw the 2-yard pass to get into 4th and 6, because the 4th and 6 play, actually, they threw about 2 yards short of the first down as well. And we're fortunate that Garrett Oakley dragged his man to get past the first down, because when it initially happened, I was like, oh my God, he's going to get tackled short of the first. But, you know, he was able to make a nice play and get the first down.
I did like, and I, as a play-by-play guy, like I understand this. You're flying in for one K-State game. He's not been watching K-State games all season, and drops is not a stat that is like readily. But Garrett Oakley, who did have I'll give him credit. That was a really nice play on the 4th down, but he had a drop. I mean, just a, square in the hands, would have been a first down drop. And the guy, who I think is just operating off of, hey, this is one of K-State's, statistically best playmakers here. He's like, oh, well, you never see the Garrett Oakley drop. And I was like, okay, well,
yeah.
It also took them a good 10 or 15 seconds to realize that Avery was still on the field when Blake Barnett was inserted.
Which, yeah, but DY, I don't blame him, because why would he be? Why would he be?
Exactly.
Like, why would he be? There's I didn't even put that on the greatest. Running Blake Barnett out there, still on the field, gating the advantage that you have by running the quarterback. You don't have the extra blocker. It's just another one of these things. And someone tweeted at me like, well, imagine like if you have Avery there, you got a lot of options and one of them can throw it. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure that was the initial idea when that was trotted out there against UCF 2 months ago. But how many times have they run stuff out of that package? It's not working. They're not fooled by it. And or you don't trust Blake Barnett enough to do something cool out of it. And you shouldn't need it against Oklahoma State's defense anyway. So like, what are we doing here? Like,
it's funny that I think I've outraged John so much. His screen froze there for a second. So
they are saving something that they are setting up for
Colorado. No,
yeah.
I was going to say for Colorado. We have to get to a bowl game.
They're not going to need it against Colorado. They're going to squeak that one out by 7. All right, so we'll be fine.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure. Not without Jace Brown now too. I don't feel great. Look, K-State 284 yards of offense on 58 plays, guys. 4.9 yards per play. Oklahoma State was 135th in the country in net yards per play differential with a negative 2.82. K-State had 4.9 yards per play against an Oklahoma State defense that was last in the country, and yards per play allowed at 7.4. And it was the fewest yards per play, I believe. Fewest yards by an FBS opponent against Oklahoma State this year was 342. K-State had 284 yards. And the 4.9 yards per play, the lowest allowed by Oklahoma State against an FBS opponent, was 5.4 going into today. K-State had 4.9. So again, just
But they got better as the game went along. There was only 1 yard per play in the first quarter.
It had one first down in the first quarter, 3 drives, 10
plays, 10 yards.
Yeah. And I mean, if it wasn't for Jace Brown in that first half, guys, I mean, they would have averaged like 2.5 yards per play in the first half, because Jace had 2 catches of 30 and 34 yards. Otherwise, I think the rest of the half, they had 26 plays for like 60 something yards. So Yeah, it was bad offensively, not good at all. So
it's crazy that they had 30 carries for 107 yards, which is not good. But 45 of them came, or 56 of them came on 3 plays. So the other 27 went for 51 yards.
Yeah, and one of them, the longest one was what, an Avery scramble, right, DY?
30. He had an Avery 30-yard scramble. Joe Jackson 15 yards. Was that the touchdown probably? And then an Antonio Martin 11-yard run.
Which I totally thought Joe Jackson was going to fall face first at like the 6
tried
yard.
to.
So,
He tried to.
And then I thought the penalty was on K-State by the way Climate initially reacted. So yeah.
Was Devon Rice on the injury report, and I just didn't?
No, he traveled. So
like,
I don't know, because to be honest, like I get he's only he's a redshirt freshman. Montario Elson's a true freshman, but like Rice is the most speed and burst of all the guys that they brought, and then they used perhaps the 2 slowest.
I'm not frozen. I'm
I know.
I'm out of things to say at this point. When I froze earlier, was my sound still coming through at least?
No, you got choppy. I think I outraged you to the point, but we heard every word you said though. No, Chris Kleiman made it a point in his Monday press conference to say they were going to travel all the running backs too. So it's like he was like fired up and was saying, basically made it sound like they were going to see what they have across the board, and what 2 of them got carries.
That's right. 2 carries. Antonio Martin, 4 carries, 12 yards, and Joe Jackson, 14 for 69, 4.9 yards per carry.
So in Joe Jackson's, if you take out that 15-yarder, he had the other 13 went for 54.
Yeah, and I think he had like 2 or 3 runs that went 10+ yards.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
short.
Antonio Martin's first run was good, and then the next 3 went nowhere. He had one where I quickly realized, I know I texted it to you guys, that he had no lateral mobility whatsoever, because he just literally ran into a guy.
He had an 11-yard run, and then the other 3 resulted in 1 yard total. So
yeah, but it was just like,
yeah, straight ahead. Yeah, that's what you got to do with him. So
he has no wiggle whatsoever.
All right, we need a top storyline. It's obvious to me. It's brought to you by our friends at Alenco, alencohome.com, ALENCO home.com. If your home needs some remodeling, I don't know if they can do football programs or whatever, but if your home needs some remodeling, Alenco can certainly do that. Here's a quote from Chris Kleiman after the game. Quote, "I'm not apologizing for winning in Stillwater because it's dang hard to win here." When we talk about a bingo, like a greatest hits,
I called that
was on display from this entire season throughout this game. Everything that happened, there was just a microcosm of everything that's been infuriating and inept about this season. It concludes with a quote that is infuriating from Chris Kleiman at the press conference. It is dang hard to win in Stillwater. I'm not apologizing for winning in Stillwater. Let me point out that Avery Johnson had a way better quote, where Avery Johnson, who may have played about the best game of anybody on K-State's roster short of the defensive line today. And Avery said, it was one of the worst games I played in my career. I'm definitely not satisfied with how I played today. Can the head coach step up with the same tone as QB1, please, after that wretched display that we just saw? All the stats that Cole just laid out, no Power 4 team has scored fewer than 38 points. You scored 14, 7 of which wouldn't have happened if not for a ridiculous Oklahoma State penalty. Like, nobody in the Big 12 has lost in Stillwater in 723 days. I'm sorry. It is not 2019 anymore, Chris Kleiman. It is not hard to win in Stillwater. It is not. There are a bunch of shirtless guys out there every single game in Stillwater now because they understand how ridiculous and inept their football team and program is. That is not a difficult task. That is not something to be celebrated in any way, shape, or form. Please spare me with that. Please.
It's dang hard for Kansas State to win in Stillwater, even when the Oklahoma State sucks. It's not dang hard for anybody else. And John, you probably have I'm not going to try to be cute here with say anything because your quote's going to be the clip. I have a feeling because that was pretty perfect. But what I would say is the only thing left for the season is I'm waiting for Chris Kleiman when he decides to tell us it's dang hard to win 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, it's an interesting quote, incredibly predictable. You know who else thinks it's not hard to win in Stillwater? Tulsa, who is 0-6 in the American Athletic Conference. Tulsa went into Stillwater and won 19-12 with a permanent head coach and Mike Gundy as the head coach early in the season. Tulsa is 2-7. Okay. Their other win came against Abilene Christian. Tulsa has one FBS win this year, right? Abilene Christian's not FBS, right? Anyone correct me on that? I apologize to Abilene Christian if you are an FBS opponent. Otherwise, the only FBS win for Tulsa came against Oklahoma State. Houston won in Stillwater by 22. Baylor won in Stillwater by 18. Cincinnati won there by 32. West Virginia won there by 24. Arizona State won there by 21. I'm talking about games dating back to last year too, folks. 8 straight losses by FBS against FBS opponents in Stillwater. It is not hard to win in Stillwater unless you're not prepared as a head coach and your staff to have your guys ready to play. A ridiculous thing to say. I am so tired when we talk about the state of the program and everything. I'm so tired of this is where my mindset goes, guys, that they are okay with 7 to 8 wins when you hear things like that. When you hear Chris Kleiman last year tell you it's dang hard to win 8 games. Because I saw some people on our YouTube comments a couple weeks ago on the State of the Union, State of the Program show asking, who's saying 7 to 8 wins is okay? The head coach told you how hard it is last year to win 8 games. Now he's telling you, I'm not going to apologize for this. Did he come out and say this was an embarrassing performance, that this was unacceptable? I haven't watched the full press conference, so if he did slip that in, great. If he didn't, he should have, because it was an embarrassing display of college football and not at the expectation and aspirations that this fan base should expect from Kansas State. There's a tweet from Wyatt Wheeler, beat writer of the Capital Journal. Quote, the music is loud and a Kansas State celebration is coming through the walls of the press conference room. What are they celebrating? What is there to be excited about from that game? I can't. I know you should celebrate every win, right? But I can't get there right now. This is not good.
What I will qualify that is Stillwater set up so the locker room is really butted up right against that press conference room, so you hear everything.
I will say, at least with that one, and you are right, Cole. We haven't had a chance, obviously, doing live postgame to hear the full press conference. Maybe the rest of the tone is different. It's just like the way most of these have gone this year. I think we can make some assumptions about how that's going. The music thing, it's like, look, if you're gonna let the players just have some music, and I don't know, I'm not there. Maybe it's just playing some music in the locker room and guys really aren't that fired up. Like I said, at least Avery's quote was like, hey, we were not good. I was not good today. This was really bad. This is, guys, when we complain about the state of the program and the state of the athletic department right now and the state of things in general, it's because of stuff like that, where that attitude just seems to be so pervasive. I try. I'm not at least anymore these days. I promise I am not hot take guy. You guys see me out there now. I am not hot take blasting everybody all the time. Just going out there with a flamethrower. But this is real. I'm telling you, the existential threats are real. This is not the time to be just accepting all of this. And this lost me. I really have been pretty, and look, I stood up for Matt Wells, right, in the Texas Tech game when people were still, flailing about calling him out for the Texas Tech. I thought he was really good against Texas Tech. Texas Tech's just a much better team, right? I'll tell it to you how it is, man. But I hate that. I hate that quote so much because it just seems so emblematic of the attitude that a lot of people have with this right now. And it is not the time in the history of college athletics to be doing this. My man, it is not 2005 when K-State was struggling in 2004, 2005. Different deal. You were not in jeopardy of becoming Oregon State or Washington State and having to schedule home and homes with people. Having to schedule home and homes with Tulsa, who Cole was just mentioning there. Get ready for a lot more Tulsa if you want to be there.
Chris Kleiman also described the win as a must-win for the coaching staff. I mean, maybe like if they would have lost, if they lost that game, then the heat gets really turned up. So maybe he's not wrong.
I mean, I guess it just kind of win-loss. The way they played felt like a loss almost. I mean,
Zayshawn, according to, and this is from Kellis Robinette's tweet, from Zayshawn Rich on winning with defense. It's big for us. We came out here. We showed that we could be in a dogfight like that, and we could trade blows.
Look,
but I'm not going to eviscerate Zayshawn Rich for that quote because I don't want to. But it tells me like that's what the coach staff is trying to convince those guys of, instead of telling them that performance was unacceptable.
And the defense, the players. Look, Zayshawn Rich is not anyone outside of I'm not really paying attention to anything anybody's saying outside of Chris Kleiman and Avery Johnson after that game. Like Avery is.
But that tells me that's what the coaches are telling Zayshawn, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I really have Cole, I know you outlined some stuff about the defense. I don't really have too much of an issue with the defense. Whatever. I think they didn't play super hard, but they came up with big plays when they needed to. They were far from the top of the list of problems. The problem is at the top, as we have addressed here, and that's not again athletic department on down. I'm not calling for anybody to be fired. I'm calling for people to change their attitude and get fired up and light a fire under the ass of somebody to just change the pace at which all this is going within the athletic department right now. I don't, whatever. We don't need to do State of the Union once again here, but
you gotta change, or if you're not going to change, someone's got to be held accountable, or maybe both. I don't think you can just run it back.
Let's take the second break and come back and finish it up.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home, because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe in longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise, because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity, because you won't be disappointed, and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
All right. They're going to Utah next week. I don't know. What final thoughts do we have here?
That won't be close.
Yeah,
I already said Utah I think should be able to name their score. How are they going to score? How is Kansas State going to score?
Jace Brown. Well, yeah, I guess we can talk about that. Jace Brown likely out for the year. Word from the press conference. I did see a comment, and I know we said this at the same time. Yes, Avery could have probably run the ball for the first down when he threw that. Like, he threw a great pass. You can't predict there that his receiver is going to get hurt. I'm not going to blame Avery Johnson for that. It was a really nice ball. And Jace Brown was about the only buddy helping Avery out on offense at all today. We maybe haven't spent enough attention. It's been mentioned. I don't know that we spent enough time on like just how disappointing this offensive line has been this year. And today, the interception that Avery threw, it's not a good ball. Shouldn't be thrown across your body like that. But literally at the snap, your guards are just getting toasted, and there are two defenders in the backfield right away. They can't. They cannot control the line of scrimmage, get a push, and run the ball at all day. They just and good luck going up against Utah. The I would say the most physical team in the league. Texas Tech is the most physical team in the league because they have as much talent as they do. But Utah's got a ton of talent. They've got a pair of first-round picks at tackle on offense. They are really stingy in the trenches. It's going to be really hard to move the ball when Jace Brown is out. Your receiver corps is as depleted as it is. Joe Jackson's your running back, and the offensive line's doing what it's doing.
That should be one of the easiest jobs on the entire season for the offensive line in terms of blocking up Oklahoma State. And I thought they were just as ineffective against Oklahoma State as they were Texas Tech, which blows my mind. And so they were either unprepared or didn't show up.
Yeah, guys, I don't have anything really to add on what we've already hit on. I don't have much on Utah. It's going to be a really ugly game. I mean, we all know that. They're not going to be able to score, as DY outlined, against that Utah defense, especially without Jace Brown. You don't have any explosiveness in this offense now. So not going to be able to score. And then you're compounded by the fact that, guys, Oklahoma State, again, ran for 5.1 yards per carry today, the most that they've ran for in a game all season. You don't have Austin Romaine. Utah is a top 5 rushing team in the country in terms of yards per carry. They're going to be able to just, wear you down and play physical smash mouth football, playing in the altitude as well. I'm sure that would check the box there, because I'm sure we'll have that excuse on next week's bingo card too, about playing in the altitude and how hard that was, especially when you compound it with the injuries and not having enough bodies. So we will have that one to check as well. It won't be a pretty game, unfortunately. And then they'll come home and they'll play a bad Colorado team and try to get to 6-6 and then go to a bowl game and play whoever. I don't know.
They'll lose to a group of 5 team that wants to be in the bowl game.
Yeah, they will play a team in all likelihood that does have the desire to want to play in that, because you're going to play a team that's, in all likelihood, I don't know, probably not going to be like a P4 team, like a
unless they put them in the Liberty Bowl, and they could at 6-6.
Yeah. So again, none of us are excited about that. Again, I know a lot of people were annoyed with the pregame show and like the commentary we gave around bowls and 6 wins. And I get it. Like, I used to love bowl games as well, like all of you guys. So it's not the same anymore. And again, my concern is about the long-term longevity of this football program and how successful it is. And right now the arrow is pointing downward. The trends are pointing down. And it's not just really this season. It gets back to from the Big 12 championship to now.
3 years.
They're not capitalizing on, the Avery Johnson era, the movement and everything they were supposed to. And John said, we don't need to re-outline the state of the program. I agree with that. We don't need to do that. But I just don't have much to add on the rest of the season. We got a couple games left, and then they'll probably beat Colorado and go to a bowl.
Well, see, I wanted to touch on that. We keep saying that. I mean, if they played like they did today, they could lose to Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado's a lot more talented than Oklahoma State, at least in some spots. I mean, they've been breaking in Julian Lewis at quarterback, who is a 5-star, highly touted kid who I think is super green. But, that's a much, no offense to Zane Flores, but that's a lot different than having Zane Flores under center in terms of upside. I mean, you put out, I will say, is unlikely because it's at home at least, but you put out this type of effort, you could lose to Colorado. You could.
I will say this, and I know State of the Union, I get it, but when we did that, we talked about them needing to get all their ducks in a row to be able to fund a competitive roster for next year because they weren't quite there yet. At what point do we wonder if the guys that would spend that money or gals, and I don't want to be sexist there, that would spend that money don't want to entrust it with Kleiman?
I have no idea. To be honest with you, I don't get the sense that that's a thing, but
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it was before today, but today makes you think a little bit, or no?
As mad as I am, I'm more mad about Kleiman's attitude about what actually happened than what happened on the field. I don't think what happened on the field, you could see this coming a mile away. This was predictable, and this is not just a K-State specific issue. When you have a team that was predicted to be in the conference championship game that is out of it this late in the year, going on the road after a bye week where they got to go home to play the worst team in the league, I think a lot of programs would get a similar sort of effort today, but you would also have a lot of coaches that would come back and then be upset in the post-game press conference, which is that's really the crux of my issue today. So I'm just saying, if you're basing your donor decision on this game, I don't.
But maybe the attitude after it, when you would, because you're telling me you would maybe base it on the attitude.
Maybe. I mean, I'm basing it on an overall bigger picture of everything combined with the attitude. I don't think people that have lots of money got lots of money by making snap decisions like that. I don't see. This is where I'll come back to when I pick my moments to get very upset here. I'm not hot take guy. I'm not going to be crazy, burn it down here. I don't think people with money make decisions like that. I think they are much more process oriented and cool and calm and good decision makers. And I would not perceive that to be an issue.
That's a good argument. I would also say that people that make a lot of money don't give it to people that they begin maybe to not trust.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good call out, DY. Like people that make a lot of money, they're smart with it, and they want to see a plan, and so they want to be able to trust and buy into a strategy and a plan. And so if I was giving a lot of money to Chris Klieman, to Kansas State football, which I'm not, obviously, I'm just a season ticket holder, and sit with all of you guys. I'm not paying millions of dollars, but if I was, I would want to know, okay, what is your long-term plan to get this program back to a Big 12 championship contender? Because you had the resources allocated to you this year, and this was supposed to be the season. And I would argue last year could have been, as well, to do that. And you went 8-4 and 5-4 in the Big 12 last year. And this year you're probably going to go 6-6 and 5-4 in the Big 12 again, after an awful start. And so I want to know, what are you going to do to fix this? If I'm going to keep giving you money, or if I'm going to give you even more resources, what is the plan to get this back on track? Not only on track, but to where it's not, because let's be frank, guys, the expectations have been high the last 3 years. They've been picked to finish second or first in the Big 12 since the Big 12 championship season every year. Well, next year, the expectations are probably going to be middle of the pack. Big 12, depending on what happens in the portal, it could be lower than that, right? But I'm saying this.
I think it's going to be quite a bit lower.
And I'm setting it up like this, DY, because I can just see this happening, is they win 7 to 8 games next year, exceed expectations, and that becomes a talking point because they lowered the bar this season. And then, hey, guys, we rebounded. Things are on the right track. We got back and we won 7 or 8 games next year, and trying to set the bar that, hey, that's good enough. Like, look, we fixed it. We're back. No, that's getting back to where you were. You got to take it to another level. And how are you going to do that? As you think about this team specifically as a 27.5-point favorite to North Dakota, won by 3 and had to win it in the last 2 minutes. They lost outright as a 17-point favorite against Army, and as a 19.5-point favorite against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State had a chance to win this game. And so you underachieved at such a high level. And I want to know what you're going to do to fix it. And look, obviously we all agree that there's going to have to be a coaching staff shakeup on the staff somewhere. Coaches, there's going to have to be some turnover, but who are you going to replace them with? And what's the plan there? Because some of the replacements have been underwhelming in the Klieman era. And the one home run offensive coordinator was the shoe-in guy for him to hire in Colin Klein. And since, so, yeah.
Next year is really hard to quantify, right? Like you just laid it out. Like, are we really going to get by in the fourth year after 2022 just saying, oh, we overachieved with 7 wins? Like, or do you have to, because it's been that long, do you have to actually compete for a Big 12 title?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's so much to be determined in I have no idea what the roster is going to look like. I don't really know what to expect as far as like what the team is going to be, what the coaching staff is going to look like. I mean, I know I see people in the comments like fearing the running it back with the same staff. I think you're going to have some coaching changes. I think there will be a lot of things that do look different going into next year. So before I get into the business of putting a blanket statement on like what my expectation for next year is going to be. I need to see I need to see what unfolds.
But I think that if you don't build, I get it. You have to see what they have coaching wise and roster wise. But if they don't get it good enough to where they can compete for a Big 12 championship, then I think that's a failure. No, because this isn't the same Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma anymore. Like, you can't just say we can compete for a Big 12 title once every 6 years and that be okay.
I would view it as a failure, DY. I don't know about the rest of the fan base. I think you and I would view it as a failure. And I don't know what the coaches would view it as.
Yeah, I just think the expectations need to be recalibrated in how the Big 12 is assembled right now.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's acceptable to go 4 years without being a serious contender at the end of the season to make it to the Big 12 championship. Frankly, in this new Big 12, I don't think it's acceptable to go 4 years without making it to the Big 12 championship. So, for 6-3 to be your ceiling that you've hit, that's not good enough for me in this landscape. So we'll see what their mindset is. I don't know. And to John's point, there's a lot to unfold with the roster and the transfer portal, who's going to stay, who's going to go, the coaching staff shakeups, et cetera. So a lot's going to unfold. It's going to be a very active 6 to 8 weeks coming up. And we'll talk more in depth about where the direction of this thing goes. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting discussion about the future next year. What does success ultimately look like? What does it look like to this staff? And what does it look like to people in the athletic department, to donors, to fans, et cetera? So my expectation is you better do something to get back to being a contender for the Big 12 in 2026.
I agree.
I just want urgency. Like, I want, as frustrating as basketball has been, I know that the urgency is always there. I know that they are trying to do every single thing that they can, right? I mean, they're still looking for a big man right now. It's November 15th. They've already played 3 regular season games. Like, they are trying very hard. And that is, to win at the highest level, to get the finances needed to win at the highest level. I want to see that. I want process over specific results as of right now, based on where we're at. And so, that is my main concern. That's how I would frame it.
I don't think those two things, what you guys just said, are exclusive from one another. I think I agree with both.
I guess I would just say, I think it's possible that you would have enough roster turnover and churn from a disappointing year this year that could make it a little tough, even if they are getting good medium-term plans, short to medium-term plans in place, that maybe it doesn't work out where next year is I don't want to speak anything. This is based on no info, but if Avery and Jace leave and Austin Romaine goes pro, well, you could have a great plan in place and fundraise a bunch of money, and it could still be really hard to put together at key positions enough talent to, when you obviously need a totally redo of the running back room. There are scenarios here where you're trying really hard and there's just too much to replace because you wound up in a really tough spot after this year.
I agree, but I think you backed yourself into a corner where I think you lose that leeway.
Okay, I mean, I guess my other thing would be or else what? Chris Kleiman's not getting fired, so even next year. So, that's another part of my issue with this discussion here. I would just say, get better processes in place. Get better processes in place. Okay. Well, that was fun. Thank you, everybody who's been here in the chat. Thank you to Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon from our friends at Holiday Distillery. Thank you to Alenko. Appreciate Nick Springer for keeping us rolling behind the scenes as well. Hope y'all are able to enjoy the rest of the Saturday. Lots of college football on. Take care, and we will talk to y'all very soon here on 3 Mile.